What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We are back for another race here in Canada, and we have 3 upgrades waiting to come onto the car. One of them has already worked. We have 2 more that we have to see whether it is going to get implemented into the car or whether it's going to fail. I hope they all pass because that is going to jump us up the performance standings quite a lot, and I'm optimistic about our chances of scoring points here anyway, especially if you look back to last season when we actually got a victory, and we are coming off of an incredible run of form where we managed to pick up a very hard-fought podium in Monaco in the previous race. So I'm hoping that we can get a good result here. Maybe a top 6 or something like that I think is realistic, because I think that if all these upgrades come on the car, we should be sort of round about where Alpine are sort of performing at the moment, and yeah, we should be able to start beating them again. Before that, we're going to sign a new sponsor. I'm just deciding who it's going to be. You know, our previous one was to outscore the team directly above us in the performance index. In the end, I go for this one, completing 50 laps over the course of a race weekend, and now we are going to set some activities to do over the course of these next 16 days between the Monaco Grand Prix and the Canadian Grand Prix. This is, of course, because the Spanish Grand Prix is not on the calendar this season. We have removed it for 1 year only. It will be back on for season 4. But yeah, here we are in the sort of the sort of home base area, and we have the choice of picking a new rival, and we're going to go with Esteban Ocon again, actually, because despite the fact that he did beat us in the previous one, we do nonetheless, I think, have the ability to beat him. So yeah, we will see. We had another upgrade succeed there, so we've just got 1 more left to get onto the car, and then we will see whether we're going to have enough.
Thanks for handling that.
Whether we're going to have enough morale to succeed on all 3 fronts. That would be quite exciting if all 3 did get implemented. But before that, we're actually going to get the Spec 3 engine facility upgrade as well. And the final upgrade has succeeded, so we're going to jump up quite significantly in the performance standings now, you would have to imagine. I am very, very excited to see where we're going to be. But you'll have to wait a little bit longer to find out exactly where we are. We do have 1 upgrade which is coming on for the Austrian Grand Prix, which is the next race. It's another aero upgrade. We can't afford any upgrades in any of these departments at the moment, but that's absolutely fine because well, you know, things are looking very good for us at the moment, and yeah, we're now basically ready to get into the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, I would imagine. One thing we're going to do before that, we're going to put a new ICE in, because we've worn this one out quite a lot. So I figure, you know, we should sort of swap it out. It's been 7 races this season, so I think that's a good time. We get 4 ICEs allocated, of course, so I don't think it's any big deal really. We should be able to make them go to the end of the season with no real issues, and yeah, we're doing well, I would say. And now we get the moment of truth. Where are we in the performance index? Let's have a look how we compare to the other cars. Okay, we're still a little ways off Alpine, but we're actually pretty close now. I definitely think that's close enough that we can start fighting with them. We're a long way ahead of the 4 teams behind us, and well, maybe we can even challenge Ferrari. Who knows? I think those top 4 teams are still going to be difficult to break into at the moment, but they're not as far ahead as they were. We've made a big jump here, and I mean, we've got bigger jumps coming. You know, we've got that aero upgrade coming on for Austria as well, so I am very excited to see how things go, and we are going to see what kind of performance we can get over the course of this weekend. Points, that's got to be the target here. I think at least sort of P8 or P7 to keep the good times rolling, sort of keep 4 or 5 points rolling in every weekend, sort of around that amount. Would be the optimal amount. But obviously, I actually had a comment on one of my videos recently, which you know, I thought I would talk about. I think it raised an excellent point. That's once we've reached the sponsorship bonus, this 100 points over the course of the season, there's pretty much no point in developing the car any further, especially considering I think there's going to be a regulation change. We should try covering off the regulation change before we do any more development, and then you know, we can see where we go from there. But the quicker we can cover off the regulation change, the more likely it is that we're going to have a championship contending car for next season, especially now that we've got all 3 of these departments at Spec 3. I think we're looking very good. If you didn't see there in practice, Hauger actually was P8 there, so I'm hoping that maybe we can see another Q2 appearance from him. Obviously, he was 11th in Monaco, which was a fantastic result for the Norwegian driver. We're going to be putting on this final chassis upgrade, which is going to bring us sort of toe to toe with the cars around us. Should make us about as fast as the Aston Martin in the chassis department. That is the last upgrade we can do, though, so I'm not really sure how we get closer to the teams around us. I guess we just cope because yeah, it turns out the other teams have a bit more potential than we do in that department. But I mean, it is what it is. And yeah, we're now going to get into qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix. I am incredibly optimistic for our chances here. I think we should at least make Q3 realistically, and anything less than that is going to be very disappointing. But I think I'm going to be targeting sort of, you know, P8, P7, something like that. I think that's got to be the goal here. We do our first flying lap on a set of fresh soft compound tyres, and it is going to be good enough to see us into the 109s. It's 109.3, so that's pretty good going from us. And yeah, hopefully that should be enough to see us through to Q2 without any real issues. I made sure to check the fuel and stuff, and everything was fine in that department. We have a bit of a bad run there on our second flying lap to fail to improve here, and yeah, that is going to see us in the 109.5s. But it's absolutely fine. We're through to Q2 without any real issues. It's P11, so we are going to have to step our game up a little bit for Q2 if we want to make it through to Q3, but shouldn't be too much of an issue. And the big cheer that we can do is for Dennis Hauger, because he is through to Q2 as well in P14. Good result from him, a 109.5, only a couple tenths off me. But we beat out Sonoda Joe, Sargent Lawson, Fittipaldi, and De Vries, who were all eliminated in Q1. So yeah, a solid result from not only myself, but also from Dennis Hauger, making it through to qualifying 2 for the second time this season. A very solid result from him. And well, let's see if he can maybe do even better than that. Maybe he can get sort of P13, P14. I think that would be a really strong result from him. To be ahead of the Alpines would be sort of the ideal situation here, I would imagine. But we'll see what we can do. We did a 109.5 on a used set of soft compound tyres. We actually did a purple Sector 1 here in the fresh soft compound of tyres as well. So yeah, we're looking pretty rapid here in Q2. It looks like we're definitely going to do a faster time than we did in Q1. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because we've got P10 regardless of what happens. So this is just for sort of prestige as we do a little bit of a better sector 3. And it's a 109.0 as we cross the line, which is good enough to see us through in P8. So yeah, a decent result, about where I'd want to be. But definitely I want to find maybe a bit more improvement over that. I know that it's there. I know that potential exists within the car, so hopefully we can extract it. But the eliminations here, perhaps a little bit surprising. Gasly is out, not too surprising. But then it's Leclerc, Russell, and then Albon, Hauger, and Hulkenberg. So, yeah, Hauger not doing terribly there, P15. I maybe would have liked him to be ahead of Albon, but that's about the best I think we could have expected from him if he's not contending with the Alpines. The Alpines seem like they're still sort of breaking into the upper echelons. So, yeah, he's done quite well there, Hauger, I would say. Maybe only one more position I could have feasibly seen him making up. First flying lap here in Q3 is on a used set of soft compound tyres, good enough for a 109.3, so I'm hoping that maybe we can break into the 108 on our fresh set of soft compound tyres. But we will see what we can do. We're currently quite far up on Perez, so I'm thinking that we should be at least sort of P6 here. Although I say that Sainz has actually gone faster. It's a 108.8, and we're currently 3 tenths up on our time. So we're going to have a pretty good run through the final chicane now if we want to be any higher than P7 here. But yeah, we'll see what we can do as we come through the final chicane. It is a decent run. We've definitely made up some time there. I don't know if it's quite good enough for 2 tenths though. And as we come up to the line, it's a 108.9. So I think that's only going to be P7. And yeah, it is indeed P7. Not a terrible result considering where the performance of our car is. I'm pretty happy with that. The upgrades definitely seem to have worked.
It's time to remind ourselves of our top
yeah,
three.
it's a decent result for us. So hopefully we can fight from there, maybe for sort of 6th or 5th or something like that. We've got a Ferrari ahead of us, of course, and they are a team who, on paper, are a little bit slower than us. And well, if we can defend nicely, then perhaps we could be looking at yeah, sort of a top 6 finish. I think that's got to be the goal here is 6th or higher. I would say I'd be happy with. We get an early advantage on Esteban Ocon in this rivalry. I actually forgot to drop the difficulty, despite the fact that we lost our previous rivalry. So I will endeavour to make sure that that happens for the Austrian Grand Prix, because yeah, obviously we are supposed to be we're supposed to be on 96 difficulty, I believe, and we're currently running on 97. So yeah, hopefully we remember to do that, because that is obviously going to be affecting our performance and affecting our sort of results if we're on a slightly higher difficulty than we should be. But yeah, we'll see if we can get that coveted top 6 finish as we get into the Canadian Grand Prix.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. A 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 190 miles per hour. 2 DRS zones, 14 turns, tight corners everywhere you look, and a very narrow track. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he will start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Magnussen, Bottas, Sainz, Robinson, Perez, Ocon, Stroll, Gasly, Leclerc, Russell, Albon, Hauger, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Joe, Sargent, Liam Lawson, Fittipaldi, and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
Yeah, no little intro preamble this time, because we had that weird glitch where the flag just kind of doesn't go away, gets stuck on the flag screen. Now, you may think the strategy is interesting, going hard medium, but it actually worked really nicely for us last season, and it's the reason we ended up winning, I think, because we were on faster tyres than everyone at the end of the race. You know what Martin Brundle always says, you have to be on the right tyres at the right time, and I'm hoping that this strategy will work out nicely for us. But, well, I suppose we will find out as we line up on the grid. Hopefully we get a good parking slot here.
Okay,
pretty good.
nice
0.2 meters. We will see if we can maybe get one of our trademark good starts here. But it's not going to be easy, because it is a pretty narrow run down to turn 1. So if I can make up even one position, I'll be pretty happy with that. And we're also on slower tyres as well. So we'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've gotten away very well compared to Carlos Sainz there, looking for a way through on Bottas, but unfortunately he kind of moves the cover us off a little bit. We're challenging Kevin Magnussen up the inside through turn 1, but that gives us the outside for the following corner. I don't know if we're going to be able to hold on to this, and indeed we end up falling back behind Magnussen. So it's going to be P6 for the time being, but that's a decent start for us. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, it is Norris leading the way from Piastri, from Verstappen, Bottas, Magnussen, myself, Perez, and Ocon are your top 8 at the moment. We go a little bit deep into the chicane here, and that gives us a pretty bad run, which means we might be susceptible to Perez now, but hopefully we can hold on to this position for the time being. Perez closing us in, but he was pretty far behind us, fortunately, so it's not too bad, but it doesn't mean we lose a little bit of ground to the faster Aston Martin of Kevin Magnussen. But the goal here, as always, is going to be that top 6 finish. But here comes Sergio Perez up the outside on this occasion, but we're going to dive back down the inside in the hairpin, and we are through into P6 once again. I think I went for a very similar move to that in the Monaco Grand Prix on Bottas, if I remember correctly, where I kind of got overtaken and then just immediately went back for it. But here comes Perez once again. It looks like he's going to be going for the move, and yeah, he's comfortably ahead of me actually as we make it through the chicane. But he has a bad run, and that is going to allow me to get right alongside him. But then the Red Bull power kicks in and he is back ahead. But oh, he goes a little bit deep into to turn 1 here actually, and that allows me to sneak back ahead of him. But all this battling with Perez has mean we've already fallen away from Magnussen. We're already over a second behind him, so we're not going to have any DRS. So this is just going to be defending simulator, I think, for the time being. And yeah, we're just going to have to really try and cope with the pressure that Sergio Perez mounts. Obviously, there's no DRS just yet, but it's going to get enabled very, very soon. You know, from the next few straights. The last ones we're probably going to get to defend with no DRS, but it doesn't even matter. Here comes Sergio Perez regardless, attacks us into the final chicane, and we're very lucky not to get overtaken there. We just about managed to squeeze around the outside of him. Here he comes up the inside once again, dives up the inside, which switches to the outside for the following corner, of course. Who's going to hold on to this one? It looks like it's going to be Sergio Perez, actually, and that is me down into P7. So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate, especially as we go a bit deep into the chicane there. And, yeah, unfortunately, we don't end up holding on to that. Here's Esteban Ocon. He is going to be pulling over to the side of the race. It was a shame because he was only a couple positions off me. I think it was him and Magnussen who were sort of directly behind me now that Perez had got ahead of me. But, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing here for the man from France to be eliminated from the race. But perhaps what was particularly bizarre here is that we actually had 2 retirements on the same lap, as Nick De Vries was casualty of his own driving, just drops it under his own power and is out of the race, scatters debris all across the track. And yeah, you're going to see what the consequence of that is in just a second. So first up, we had the Ocon DNF, and well, that ended up not triggering any full safety car, but there was a virtual safety car, and then De Vries DNF'd very shortly after that. They're basically at the same time, so that ended up triggering a full safety car and then a red flag. So yeah, a very big sequence of events in a very short space of time. We went from VSC to SC to red flag in a matter of about 15 seconds. But, yeah, a pretty crazy situation. Unfortunately, it doesn't benefit us very well because we started on the hard compound tyres. So we're going to have to be taking 2 sets of medium tyres to the end of the race. I think some people will probably try and punt for a set of hards to the end. But I don't know if that will necessarily be faster. We'll see what happens as the lights come on once again. And the lights go out, and we've gotten away well compared to Perez and Magnussen here. And we're also putting some pressure on Verstappen and Norris too, and we are up into P3 off of the start here. So that is a pretty good result. Can we hold off the pressure on Magnussen behind? I think we just about can. He actually had a pretty good start, but I think he got caught up behind Verstappen a little bit perhaps, and that allowed me to get ahead of Magnussen. So, yeah, we're through and onto the podium here. And, well, there's a few cars around us who I think started on the hard compound tyres. Piastri is obviously the one that you can see at the moment. I wonder if he is going to try and go to the end, or whether he's going to try and do a sort of medium-hard, medium strategy. It'll be interesting to see how the strategy plays out in this race. But in any case, it is going to be us in P3 for the time being, so that's fantastic. Once again, it's just going to be defense simulator, as Bottas has already broken the gap of over a second. Yeah, we just don't seem to have the pace compared to these guys at the moment. But yeah, boxing around lap 20, it's going to be. We're going to do 14 laps and then 15 laps, and we'll see what we can do, whether we can keep these cars behind us or not over the course of this race. Magnussen already seems to be piling the pressure on, but decides to back out of it as we go into the final chicane. And yeah, we're just going to be biding our time in P3, seeing how long we can hold on to this position. I'm very optimistic about our chances of scoring some decent points here. Hopefully at least sort of 8 points in P6, I think is very realistic for us. And as we move on to lap 11, you can see we haven't really had any challenges from Magnussen so far, so we're looking good. But maybe with the DRS now, he's going to start mounting a bit more of an attack on me, as Norris has fallen to 2 seconds behind us, so we'll see what happens. Magnussen not quite close enough to mount an attack into the final chicane here, but he's going to get the DRS once again, and maybe into the first corner he's going to go for a bit more of a move, and indeed he's going to stick in it a little bit more, but we squeeze him to the inside of the corner. He has to back out of it a little bit, and that is going to allow us to hold on to the position. And yeah, we are still in P3 for the time being, but 23 laps to go. I think anything could happen here. And as we move a little bit further through the race onto lap 16, sorry, we're still in P3, but Magnussen has not relented any. Norris has caught up with us once again as well, and there's a bit of a train behind us. I think Magnussen's involved. Maybe his teammate, I think, is involved here as well. Lance Stroll, Verstappen, and one of the Alpines. I guess it must be Gasly because Ocon's out of the race. They're all waiting to pounce. We go very deep into the hairpin there, and that is going to probably allow Kevin Magnussen to get a very good run on us. He's already only 2 tenths behind us, and even in the DRS zone yet. And once he gets that DRS, it's just a complete non-contest. And we're going to try and tuck into the slipstream to avoid being pounced on by Norris as well. And, well, we've done very well to avoid that there. I think if we hadn't have got a snap of oversteer there, we might even have been able to challenge Magnussen back. But unfortunately, with the snap, it meant that we were just a little bit too far behind to put some pressure on him. So I think that this is going to be P4 for us for the time being. And in the end, we decided to box 1 lap earlier than planned. And we're coming in on lap 19 for a set of medium compound tyres to the end. It's going to be 16 laps on the mediums. It's not going to be easy. But the tyres were starting to go off a little bit. Obviously, with a slightly lower fuel load, we're not going to be stressing the tyres quite as much. Once again, we have come in on the same lap as Hauger. He's really being put through the ringer by us, unfortunately for him. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can go for a bit of an undercut on Kevin Magnussen and maybe try and pull out a little bit of a gap on Verstappen and the other cars behind us. You can see the gap actually to them is about 4 seconds now, so that's pretty good. We'll see where we are in relation to Kevin Magnussen. It looks like we're definitely going to be coming out ahead of him. He's only just exited his pit box now, I think. And yeah, I think he might even get overtaken by Verstappen and Norris as we do a very needless corner cut there. And yeah, things looking good for us now as we're currently sat in P5 because Sainz and Perez are both on those hard compounded tyres, which means they're going to be going to the end on these tyres. We caught Sainz just a couple of laps later, and it should be a fairly trivial overtake because we actually make a bit of contact with him there because of how slow he's going on those hard compound tyres. He's still got to do 10 laps on those. So, yeah, good luck, man. Hopefully he stays in the points for his own sake, but it'll be interesting to see how it works out for him. But in any case, we're looking good to get a podium here as Perez we've now caught as well. And hopefully it should be a fairly trivial affair to try and overtake him. I don't think we're going to be able to get ahead of him here, but yeah, shouldn't be too long before we do overtake him. He's not going very quickly on those hard compounded tyres, and our mediums are still feeling pretty good in this race. So we're going to dive up the inside at the following chicane, and we just about make it work. So yeah, that is us through into P3. We're back onto the podium, and hopefully his teammate will have a hard time getting past him because he's only 2.5 seconds down the road. So we're going to have a difficult time catching him. I think Piastri might just be a little bit too far up the road for us to catch him. Bottas already did pit. Of course, he was on the medium tyres. I think Bottas could catch Piastri before the end here, but I don't think we're going to be catching. I don't think we're going to be catching Piastri. So yeah, I think it's just going to be us consolidating P3 here, hopefully, unless Magnussen is going to say anything about it. Maybe he's going to catch us. I don't know. Let's keep an eye on that gap to Magnussen over the course of the lap. And it does look like he's catching us a little bit, at least sort of, you know, half a tenth a lap or something like that. He's cut the gap down from about 2.9 seconds at the beginning of the lap to, what, 2.3, 2.2 at the end of the lap. So I think he might be piling some pressure on us towards the end of the race. Maybe these last couple laps he will be trying to make a move on us. So we're going to have to try and find all the pace we can on these hard compound tyres. Obviously we boxed a little bit earlier than them, so we took a little bit of life out of them. And as we make it onto lap 34, just 2 laps to go, you can see he is now within our DRS range. So we're going to have a difficult task to defend from him for these last couple of laps of the race. But yeah, I'm just going to have to push at my absolute maximum while being very careful on the tyres to make sure I don't get any oversteer or anything like that. And we will see whether Magnussen can make this move. But I feel like if I lose one position, I'm just going to start losing all of them. It's going to be Magnussen and Norris who are directly behind us. So hopefully it shouldn't be any lower than P5, but disaster, absolute disaster struck 1 lap before the end of the race. The engine has given up. You know, they couldn't just let me have it. They couldn't let me just try and push to the end on a worn-out engine component. They unfortunately have said that it is critical, and we are going to be pulling over to the side of the road. And yeah, this is absolutely gutting for us. I can't believe that. Less than 2 laps to go to the end of the race. We would have been nailed on for sort of P3, P4, P5 at the worst, I reckon. Maybe with that engine problem, it would have been like P6. But still, you know, that's 10 points, 8 points, something like that we're not getting anymore. That would have been so critical for our chances in this championship. And I am absolutely devastated by that, because it's only going to have a knock-on effect towards the end of the season and potentially hamper our development. I am just absolutely devastated, and hopefully we can bounce back from that sooner rather than later.
A truly magnificent drive then, and a great performance from the entire team to secure victory here in Canada. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they are very much at one with the car, which is a cliche, but it's true. It's not an easy process, and that work is very much paying off.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Yep, well, it is Valtteri Bottas who takes the victory. He had the correct strategy in the end. Piastri not able to hold on to that victory on those hard compound tyres, but does take P2 nonetheless, and maybe getting himself involved in the championship fight now a little bit, as Russell has had 3 bad results in a row. Meanwhile, Magnussen picks up the final spot on the podium. Should have been me, but you know, these things happen. It's our first failure of the season, which in 8 races. It's not too bad, and yeah, hopefully we can just bounce back from this as quickly as possible.
So let's review the drivers' standings. It was not the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Finns have we got now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed and a good job in the traffic as well.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders, who lose ground at the top of the table. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, Dennis Hauger did well there to pick up P12 in the end. Not a bad result from him at all. Very happy with the performance that he's shown here. And yeah, despite the fact that he's only scored 15 points in the last 3 races, or maybe even less than that, I think George Russell is still leading the championship by over 30 points. So he's doing incredibly well. We're still sat in P6 in the constructors, which is good. Hopefully we can continue holding on to that from Alpine. But yeah, we need a better result. You know, hopefully this is just a one-off. Hopefully this isn't going to turn into a trend like it did last season. Otherwise, we might have to think about switching engine suppliers. But in any case, that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.